So the first thing that I want to talk through, and this is probably something that you've seen me go through before if you've worked with me one-on-one, because I joke that I can't get through a consult without explaining this. It just applies to so many people. So I'm really excited to share it with you on the call. So what we're looking at here is blood sugar balance, and that just means the way that your body regulates the amount of glucose in your bloodstream. And I'll talk you through using this graph here. So on the vertical axis, we have the amount of glucose that's actually in your bloodstream. And the reason that that glucose goes into your bloodstream after you've eaten something with carbs in it, so that can be anything from a banana to a chocolate snake. A chocolate snake, is that a thing? So anything, whether it's like a so-called healthy carb or an unhealthy carb, though I don't like to use those terms, the glucose goes into your bloodstream so that it can be transported around the body, and mostly it's used for energy. So on the vertical axis is the amount of glucose that's actually in your bloodstream, and down the bottom we have the time after eating. So with the purple and blue that you're looking at, they're the two basic scenarios that can happen whenever you're eating something. And I like to use the example of a banana just to help you understand that it can be fruits and healthy carbs as such that cause this instability just as much as the other processed foods. So looking at the purple line, you're eating the banana right where it starts, where the purple and blue are joining. So you eat the banana, the sugar goes into your bloodstream, it's converted into glucose, it goes into your bloodstream, and it increases quite quickly because there's nothing to slow down this release of sugar. So it goes straight into the bloodstream, we're going right up to the top, and at the top is where your body will say, hang on, blood sugar's too high, we need to bring that down. So you will start producing insulin, which is a natural body response to bring the glucose out of the bloodstream and, be stored and converted into glycogen and all sorts of things. But basically, the insulin is going to keep being produced until that blood sugar level drops. So what often happens here is we're overproducing insulin because the blood sugars increase so quickly. Your body's almost in crisis mode. So it'll just keep pumping more and more and more insulin until that blood sugar level drops. So you can see that just as quickly as it's increased, we've produced the insulin at the top and the blood sugar levels are starting to drop back down. And if you look where the purple line goes beneath the blue shaded area, that's what we call low blood sugar. And that's where we don't want our blood sugar levels to go. Because what happens there is the brain will recognize that it doesn't have enough glucose in the bloodstream. So blood sugar levels have dropped lower than we wanted them to. And the brain runs on glucose, like that's its fuel that it needs to function. So the brain sends a message that it needs more glucose. And instead of craving some sweet potato, you find yourself craving chocolate or cookies or muffins or whatever your weakness is, whatever you tend to crave. And that's just a physiological response. Your brain needs glucose to survive, so it's going to look for the quickest source of glucose that it can possibly get, and the quickest source comes from those more refined sugars as opposed to the more stable sugars like in your veggies and whole grains and things like that. So just to recap, you've had a banana, your blood sugar levels have increased, they've gotten too high, and you've produced a lot of insulin to bring them straight back down. And often your blood sugar levels will drop too low because you've produced so much insulin at the top there. So if you've ever felt hangry, that little line down the bottom below the blue shaded area of the purple, that's what you're feeling. Like that's exactly where your blood sugar is. You need food, your brain's saying, need sugar right now. And like I always explain to my clients, it's quite hard to argue with the boss. Like your brain rules your body. So when you get down to that point and you're hungry and you're craving sugar and you're sitting there trying to battle against that craving with willpower, it's really fighting a losing battle because it's your brain fighting against your brain. And the physiological need for glucose is usually going to win over your attempt to use willpower to squash that. So what we want to do is actually stop you from getting down that far, stop your blood sugar levels from dropping that low, and we won't have the cravings in the first place, which is a lot easier. So that's unstable blood sugar on the purple. What we want it to look like is the blue line. So going back to the start where you're eating the banana, but this time we're going to have it with a handful of almonds. And what those nuts do is it gives your body protein and fat, which actually slows down the release of sugar into the bloodstream. So it's the same banana, it's the same amount of sugar. We haven't broken it in half or anything like that. It's exactly the same, but we've added protein and fat to stabilize that release of sugar and glucose into the bloodstream. So you eat the banana and the nuts, blood sugar levels increase. Where you'll see it peak in the blue area, you will produce insulin, but in a normal amount. So you're not overproducing insulin. It's just what's needed to bring that blood sugar level down and to take the glucose into the muscles and into the liver and wherever it's needed for just general functioning. So insulin's produced in a normal amount, blood sugar levels come down, and where you'll see the blue line ending is where your body will get a nice hunger response. So it's ready for the next meal, ready for some more food, but it's not that kind of hangry sugar cravings response that we got on the purple line when you dropped that low. So I'll talk you through some more ways that you can stabilize your blood sugar in the next slide, but basically protein and healthy fats with every meal and snack is the number one thing that I want you to take away from this workshop tonight. I've seen it make a massive difference with clients. I had a lady come in, her first appointment, she sat down and she said, I eat a block of chocolate every night. And I said, okay. And I didn't even tell her not to eat the chocolate. So we went through the rest of her day. We added protein and fat, and we made sure that she wasn't skipping any meals. So her blood sugar level wasn't dropping in between meals as well. And I could kind of sense when she left that appointment, it was her first one with me, I could kind of sense that she was a little bit confused as to why I hadn't even brought up the chocolate, hadn't asked her to stop eating it. I just said to her, look, forget about the chocolate, do whatever you want there, but I want you to make these other changes in the rest of the day. So she came back to me 2 weeks later and she said she hasn't had the chocolate craving at all. And she was kind of looking at me suspiciously. She was like, what did you do to me? And I took her through this graph and I explained that we'd actually just set her blood sugar levels up for the day so that she was on the blue line. So she was stable. She wasn't getting sugar cravings. Her brain wasn't crying out for more glucose, and she was just a lot more balanced throughout the day. And what I generally find with clients is that they can stay on the purple line without dropping too low. So you might have breakfast, you go soaring up, crashing back down, and then you have a snack, soaring up, crashing back down, and then you'll have lunch and soaring up, crashing back down. But it's not until either that 3-4 o'clock time when you'll notice that kind of hangriness, sugar cravings will start to kick in. So blood sugar's dropped way too low. Or it's that kind of 8, 9, even 10 o'clock time. And sometimes it's both for some people. But I just find that, yeah, with clients, if you're having a fruit smoothie for breakfast, a piece of fruit for morning tea, and then a salad without adequate protein for lunch, you're getting all this glorious nutrients into your diet, but you're actually setting your blood sugar levels on a roller coaster through the day. So if you do tend to get that energy slump around 3-4 o'clock or sugar cravings, that's what's happening. Your blood sugar levels are dropping too low, and we need to fix the start of your day to set you up for that stable blood sugar levels. And yeah, like I said, I've seen awesome results. Your energy and mood follows your blood sugar levels as well. So when you kind of get that increase in sugar on the purple line, you probably feel quite happy and energy is good, that temporary boost, but it does come crashing back down when your blood sugar does. So even just staying on the blue line with your blood sugar means that your mood and energy levels will be a lot more stable as well. The other thing that I wanted to point out from a weight loss perspective is the insulin production. So as I said, on the purple line, you're producing a lot of insulin because your body just wants to get those blood glucose levels down. It doesn't want them to be that high, so it just pumps more and more and more insulin. On the blue line, you're producing insulin, but it's in normal amounts, so it's not overproduced. So two things can happen with the insulin. One is that if you're on the purple line and you're overproducing insulin, you can develop what's called insulin resistance. So that's where your body needs to produce more and more insulin to have the same effect as it used to with less. So that's really exhausting for the pancreas to keep up with all that insulin production and release. And it can make weight loss really difficult. So that's the first one. We want to avoid insulin resistance. The second one is if you are on this purple roller coaster all day and producing really high amounts of insulin, your that hormone, insulin's a hormone, it actually tells your body to hold on to fat stores. And I see it a lot with my clients. You can have a great diet, nutrition-wise, you're in a calorie deficit, you're exercising regularly, and it's, all these things are from the outset, conducive to weight loss. But they come in to see me and it's like, why am I not losing weight? And if they're on this purple roller coaster with the unstable blood sugar and the high amounts of insulin, they've got a hell of a lot of a hormone running around their body telling them to hold on to everything they've got. So that hormone is going to be winning out over any kind of calorie deficit or exercise that person is doing to try to lose weight. So we need to get the hormone back in balance before weight loss can happen, and especially sustainable weight loss. So that's really important if weight loss is one of your goals, but regardless, for health, we want to stay on that stable blood sugar line, the blue one. So some of the ways that we can do this, as I said, protein and healthy fats help to slow down the release of sugar into the bloodstream. So that's what we want. We want to stay on the blue line and avoid that kind of crisis point where your body will start to overproduce insulin. We also don't want to skip meals, because even if you had a perfectly balanced meal for breakfast and then didn't eat till dinner, you can be on that blue line. If I flick back to this slide, you can be on that blue line, but if you're not then eating at the end of that, it'll continue to drop and kind of follow the path that purple line is taking, which is where we don't want to go. We don't want blood sugar too low. For some people, snacking between meals is helpful. So one of the things with blood sugar balance is we all have different kind of sensitivities to it. So some people can't even have fruit without it messing with their blood sugar levels. Like they have to have it with some kind of protein. And other people might be fine with fruit, but they just need to be careful about the main meals and things like that. So not everyone needs to snack between meals. But it can be helpful for a lot of people just to keep that blood sugar level even. And obviously we're looking for a protein or healthy fats rich snack at that time. So with that one, just listen to your body. So if you're sitting on the couch and it's 8 o'clock at night and all you're thinking about is going to the shops to get some ice cream, just stop and think back on the day that you've just had. What did you have for breakfast? What did you have for lunch? What times did you eat? Did you skip any meals? And if you're having protein and fat at both meals and still suffering with sugar cravings later in the day, then that's a sign that you need to be snacking between meals as well. And the other tip is to avoid refined carbohydrates. So white flour, white sugar, those kind of things, they're really hard to balance regardless of how much protein you're having with them.